afternoon, everybody. I'm Riccardo Ladini. I present paper quote with Ferruccio Biolcati about one specific item which is present in the European Value Study and World Value Survey since the first edition, which is an item related to the social distance of immigrants and foreign workers. So, we know that European Value Study has a long history as well as their items, so we try to explore the meaning, the working of one specific item which could have some semantic overlapping, some sort of ambiguity, because the item asks, do you prefer as neighbor, you don't want as neighbor immigrant foreign worker? So we will explore this item, and we did it by using a survey experiment within the Italian edition of the European Value Survey Study World Value Survey 2017. So, only to have a brief overlook to the concept of social distance. So, the item of social distance has a long history, but the social distance concept has a longer history, because it was first defined by Robert Park and the School of Chicago about 1 century ago as an attempt to reduce to something like measurable terms the grades and degrees of understanding and intimacy which characterize personal and social relations generally. So then, by moving to a more empirical definition, we can also define social distance as the degree of unwillingness and closure for other perceived and recognized people. So, two main dimensions of social distance were recognized: a subjective one and an objective. So, European Value Study basically measured the subjective dimension of social distance and also the scale of social distance. Has a very long history since the scale of Bogardus basically thought for social distance toward ethno-racial minority. So this is the scale of Bogardus, 1925, in which basically they asked them willing to accept members of specific racial groups. There were 7 categories from 7 different items, from too close kinship by marriage to would exclude from my country. So the higher is the number, or the higher is the category, the higher is the level of social distance. European Value Study basically adopted the third item on the scale of Bogardus. So don't accept member of another group as neighbors. And so this is the question. It is present from 1981. On this list of various group of people, could you please identify any that you do not like well as neighbors? There is a list, and among this list there is immigrant foreign workers. So it is an item in which you ask ourselves, do individuals think, what individuals think when they are asked about this item? More on immigrant or foreign worker, or do they weigh in the same way immigrant and foreign worker are? And only to have an overlook, we'll use the data from the Italian edition of European Value Study or Value Survey. We have 2,277 response, and basically we have a quite high response rate. The net is 49%, and the data from Italy were published from the second release of the European Value Study, and the field finished in 2019. So, this is the distribution of, in Italy, of the percentage of individuals not wanted as neighbors, the different items of the different social groups, and basically you can see that about 16% of Italian respondents say they do not want to have as neighbors immigrant foreign workers, and the percentage is similar to the one of Muslims, and it is higher than the one of homosexual, people of different race and Jews. So it is also interesting to say that it is something different to ask immigrant foreign workers than, for example, people of a different race. This is the distribution, and if you want to look at it from a longitudinal perspective, basically in Italy, since 1990, there is a stability of the distribution of the item of immigrant foreign workers. There is an outlier, which is 1981. Why? Because in 1981, in the Italian edition, we asked only foreign workers, even if the original questionnaire asked immigrant foreign workers. So this is the reason we thought in 1981. So basically, there is stability over time. And if you look at Italy in a comparative perspective, 2017, we can see here the distribution of the item by country. You can see that there is a strong divide between East and Western countries. The highest level of social distance is found in Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Hungary. About 50% of people do not say that do not want immigrant foreign workers as neighbors, while Italy is near, for example, Spain, and we have a higher level respect to, for example, Germany, Norway, Switzerland, and other Western European. So, coming to the rationale of our experiment, basically, as I said, this is the text of the question, and there is a sort of item ambiguity because there is a semantic overlapping between immigrants and foreign workers. Because basically, foreign workers is a subsample of immigrants. So our main question is, what does the responsible refer to when answering the question? To immigrants, to foreign workers, or to both? And this kind of question is particularly relevant in recent times when public opinion tends more and more to identify the immigrant with the refugee. Because, for example, in Italy, we had more than 600,000 arrivals from 2014, 2016, and if you look at the science of the immigration, among the public opinion, immigration was the first and the second most important problem in 2013 for 4% of Italians, and it becomes 23%. For the 23% of Italians, the most important problem in 2018. So, in the other context, it is a relevant question, and we try to test it by a third experiment in EVS 2017. And this is the experimental design in which we randomize the item of immigrant foreign workers, and basically we have 70% of the sample who were asked about immigrant foreign workers, 15% who were asked about immigrants, 15% on foreign workers. So basically this group is made about 1,600 individuals. Our main research question, the first, are there substantial differences in the proportion of answers to the different items? This is the basic research question. But more specifically, the other question is, are differences in proportion between the original item and the experimental one similar? So if not, we can say that there is a semantic prevalence of one category over the other. Let's think about the fact that if we think about, for example, that we have 15% of individuals who say that do not want immigrant foreign workers as neighbors, and we have 20% of people who say don't want a foreign worker, immigrant as neighbor, and 10% foreign workers, we can say we have a difference. 5 percentage point higher, 5 percentage point lower, and basically we can see that people, on average, can give a similar weight to the two different items. A similar weight and a sort of balance between immigrant and foreign workers. Why? If there is an imbalance between the two distributions, that for example, the proportion of immigrants is very similar to immigrant foreign workers and largely different to the one of foreign workers, we can say there should be a prevalence of one category over the other. And so we should also look at possible implication of this if whether association for the different items, the different formulation of the items vary according in the association with the other social distance measure vary by the item formulation. So, looking at our results, basically, this is the main experimental finding. If you look at here, we show the percentage of individuals wanted as neighbors. Immigrant foreign workers by experimental condition. Immigrant foreign workers is 16.4%, 18.2% immigrants, while 8% foreign workers. Basically, half of individuals who say foreign workers respect to immigrant foreign workers, while basically there is no statistical significant difference between the immigrant and immigrant foreign workers. So basically, we see here a difference about 1.8. Here the difference is 8.4. So it seems there is a semantic prevalence of one item respect to the other, and it seems that this item is immigrant. Because it seems that people, when we're asked about immigrant foreign workers, they think something very near to the immigrant concept. And if we want to look the distribution of the Italian items, we can see that immigrants have the same proportion of answers as Muslims, 18.2, and is very near to immigrant foreign workers, while the percentage of foreign workers is very near to the one of people of a different race. So it seems that there are two different meanings also for individuals. And so if we want to look at the association with the other variable of social distance, we can here, basically I show the Pearson correlation between the item in its different formulation, here immigrant foreign workers, immigrants, and the other item of social distance. Basically, if you look here in blue, we can see that basically for people of a different race, correlation with the item with people of a different race, Jews and homosexual, basically the results are very similar between immigrant foreign workers items and the immigrant item. There is a difference between Muslims and immigrants, 0.49, 0.56, but however, we detect higher differences if we compare foreign workers items, correlation with the other items, and immigrant foreign workers and the other. For example, if you look in particular to Jews, we have a correlation here for foreign workers about 0.60, it is 0.39 for immigrant foreign workers. It is 0.46 for homosexual in all foreign workers, here it is 0.36 for immigrant foreign workers. So it seems that also when looking at the relationship, the association between the item and the other item, there are these two formulations, immigrant foreign workers and immigrant, that are pretty similar, while the other one, it seems to behave in another way. Only to have a last look at this, we can also see in this figure, I show the factor loadings between the item of social distance and one of the two factors that were identified by means of exploratory factor analysis, and it is a factor which basically deals with social distance toward minorities. Okay? And basically this factor takes into account the items, people of a different race, Muslims, Jews, and homosexuals, and the manipulated items. So, according to the different formulation, here we have immigrant foreign workers, here we have foreign workers, here we have immigrants. If we want to compare, also in this case, the factor loadings between, according to different item formulation, we can see that for the formulation immigrant foreign workers and the immigrant one, we have very similar factor loading for all of the items. 0.9, 0.86, and 87, 0.85, 84, very similar. While, if we look at the comparison between the original item and the foreign workers one, we can say that some of the factor loadings are same, but if you look, for example, at the Muslims, we have here 0.85, here 0.64, And the manipulated item, this is very higher than the other one. So even if, in general, the internal consistency of the scales seem very similar, the meaning of the items, it seems that can change somehow. To come to the conclusion, we can say that our work intended to provide a methodological contribution aimed at reflecting on the item wording in a well-established service like EVS and World Value Survey, and provide also a contribution to the survey research on immigrant. And I think that we arrived to some answers to this the puzzling of this item. We employ an experiment in a copy environment, which is something that I think is very rare, but it is something that is not so easy to be implemented basically because of money, but it allows us to have both internal and external validity to our result. The main substantive conclusion is that immigrants and foreign workers are two non-equivalent items. We showed it in very many ways because responding provide different meaning to the items and giving there is a semantic prevalence of the immigrant item, the immigrant social groups. It seems that it overweights the foreign worker side. We can suggest implication for the EVS World Value Survey Group. I think it's something that could be thought about. Probably could test the experiment also in other contexts, also in contexts where there is a different immigrant history, because the Italian is very recent, and also we suggest about the reflecting of modifying the items in future rounds, in future edition of the survey, since we saw that basically immigrant foreign workers and immigrant, it seems something very similar. We finish by saying that it could be also a good news also for the EVS World Value Survey Group, because the item seems to say that it is immigrant. The category that people intend when answering that question is very similar to the immigrant category. So there is not so much difference meaning between the two categories, so I think it is something that could be talked about. Thank you very much. Thank you for the suggestion. This is very interesting. I think it will be something we have to do in next step of this research. First, this also to look at more refined measurement instruments, because we only look at the scripted one, but I think that your suggestion should be one of the next steps of our research, and for sure, it will be very useful.
Any more questions? What was the first?
Did you check for correlations with different subgroups, or be interested in knowing which subgroup doesn't want foreign workers as neighbors?
Yeah, okay. I think it is something very similar to the previous questions. By now we focus on the experiment, on the analysis of the experiment, and not to going within, inside the determinant of the different answers of the question of social distance. But I think that all of these suggestions are useful, because since we need to start writing and doing new analysis of it, all of this kind of analysis should be put on the table, and useful to have a better understanding of also what is this, the meaning of this result, because as we said before, we could have different results depending also the different subgroups in terms of education and many other variables.